Good morning, New York. Good morning, everybody. Worldwide, good afternoon. Good evening in some places in the world. This is Chief O. Chief O. I am the host of Let's Talk About It with Chief O. A beautiful day, another great day. Not Zamunda, but it is in America. For those people who have contacted me and say that they would like to do more. They want me to include some other news in Let's Talk About It. So we're up in the air. We're going on. So here's some of the news. I was expecting Father Charles, the chaplain to the Nigerian Catholic community, to come and open the show up, but he had something to do. So we will gradually begin to introduce um, the religious sector into the Let's Talk About It because there is some critical problems all over, not just in Baltimore and Maryland or New York or Pennsylvania or Houston or anywhere else in America, everywhere else in America. But it just seems that we have an awful lot of problem, and we got to bring God into this picture because we can't seem to be handling it. We're not doing very well. So we need to bring God into it. This is the reason why I wanted Father Charles to open the show. Um, but if he was able to come on anytime, that would be the beginning. But we'll go on now. So my name is Chief O. That is CHIEF. I am the host of Let's Talk About It. I want to take you into some news today that sometimes we kind of miss. J&J Shots is now waiting for the FDA to approve its vaccine. Now, folks, I guess everybody got their issues, but the Wall Street Journal have already published this. Peter Lawrence is the publisher on this Wall Street Journal article, but it appears now that the FDA is finally getting on board of CDC because CDC is a private company. Many people think it's part of the federal government. It is not. The federal government have not approved all these vaccines that we're using, but this is where we are. So we're kind of waiting now for the FDA, the Federal Drug Administration, to be the one to approve all these vaccines that we are now taking. So let's be patient and wait. You remember that pipeline issue that caused the gas to go up all day long? Well, if you are listening to the show now, we can come in and we can start talking about it, quick talk about it. Well, this is what I call my quick introduction of various issues that affects all of us. Now, I want to make it clear. There is a click, there's a subscribe button. Please subscribe and ring that bell. Subscribe. We're reaching out for 10,000. We're looking for 10,000 subscribers. So if you are listening and you're on the air, please go ahead and subscribe. Click it, subscribe, click it, subscribe, and click it. So we can get more people listening to the program as we go along. We are just starting, so let's talk about it. With Chifo is relatively new, but we are moving forward by the grace of God. Um, so please subscribe, click it, subscribe, and click it. Why the price of gas going up so high? Folks, what happened? Remember, it was just $1.29 just about 6 months ago. Now, the price is up to almost $4 in some gas stations. I mean, really, something is going on. And that was because of some kind of a ransom demand on the pipeline chief. This guy kind of went ahead and agreed to pay ransom. America is not a ransom paying country. We don't care who you are. We're not paying you nothing. That especially is in the field of ransom. But now here comes the fact that the some kind of cyber folks went and hacked the pipeline, and the chief, you know, Democrat, decided to go ahead and pay the ransom, and that's the reason why we're paying all this uh, high price for gas. So that's the punishment we get for doing the wrong thing. So now You remember the election of last year, 2020? There was a guard that was accused of mailbox, of tampering with the mailbox during the union election. They used the mailbox system again, and there was naturally a tampering, fraudulent, everything that went wrong um, was there. So I, in this program, try my best to reach out to black people. Please do not get angry. If you're white, that's fine. If you're Chinese, that's fine. If you're anything else, that's fine. Because I think the black people are not getting enough information. We're being stuck on one source, and I'm not mentioning any other sources. I get my source from a variety of places, and you, in particular, are my biggest source. You, the black people that lives in Maryland and the world. You're the biggest source. You're the ones that I want to go ahead and then subscribe and click it, and then come on board and say something. Within the next 10, 15 minutes, we'll be opening it up for everybody to come in. But again, the problem with mailbox is filtered into the workplace where there are unions. Now, remember now, there's something coming up. 2022 is election year. Gerrymandering is becoming a big problem. We need to find out. Now, black people, listen, because you don't seem to be getting what's going on around you. You're busy trying to make food available for the day, money available for today. So a lot of stuff are going on around you where we're busy trying to hustle. Oh, Lordy, somebody done sent something already. I can't hardly see it. It's so teeny, teeny. But anyway, no something. Anyway, come on in. Let me keep on going because I want to make sure there's some people that want to come in. The gerrymandering is here, and Democrats as well as Republicans in Annapolis are trying their best to go ahead and get this solved so that we will have more representation. The Republican Party. That's correct. We need more Republicans in Annapolis. Any way you look at it, we need them because we've been living under the Democratic thumb for a long time, and it's not working for us. It just ain't working. So, black people, keep an eye on gerrymandering. It's really, where you draw the maps with an eye on power, controlling the power. Just carve out where you want, where they want, and then extract the power from there. So keep an eye on it. It's in the air. It's coming. So here's some more news. You remember that insurrection that took place on January 6th? Well, the Democratic Party are trying their best to say that Donald Trump was involved in everything. He gave the orders. He was the one that directed it, and blah 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 blah. Democrat, Democrat, Democrat. Well, it ain't so. Republicans and party are saying very simply, look, you want to go ahead and open up that established commission to investigate that January 6th. Make sure, open it up for all the other things, all the other conflicts that took place all over the country. You remember them, the burning in Tennessee, Wisconsin, all those are part of it all. You can't just click out Nancy Pelosi and her click itself. You can't just open up a commission just to look at one part and not on the whole thing. So, if you really want to, it almost seems like a narrative that was created in advance. What they're trying to do by establishing this commission to investigate. But we'll take a look at it as it moves forward. You'll be coming in very soon. So, well, let me finish my news because people have been texting me and calling me and saying, listen, we need some other news. We're trying to do a Republican narrative and Republican conservative ideology and bringing it onto the store. Black people, you don't have to vote Democrat all the time. You know that. And this is exactly what we're trying to do. So the House has authorized a panel on that Capitol riot. That is, they want to look at everybody that was on that peaceful demonstration and climbing on the wall and going into their house, but they don't say it's their house because they the Democrats feel like since they have the majority, that is their house. Forget about you. You can't come in. Sounds like separation to me. Doesn't sound like unity to me. It sounds like somebody's trying to do an apartheid. So let's continue looking at that, what's going on. But they have, established a approved uh, a commission to go in and look into that. Here's the one that I really like. I like these news that are coming out of Wall Street sometimes, and but Epic Times most of the time. Uh, so here it is. U.S. officials widen probe of Cuomo administration. This guy Cuomo. I'm a New York. That's my place, New York, Harlem, New York, and this is a weirdo. But now they're starting to investigate him on the so-called the federal prosecutors. I don't know if they are really independent, examining whether New York state officials gave priority access to COVID-19 testing to some of Governor Cuomo's, Andrew Cuomo's, um, uh, close associates and his brother. What a nut he is, too. Uh, During the early days of the COVID pandemic, according to people familiar with the investigation. So, the inquiry looks at whether associates got priority access to COVID-19. Now, you can break it up. When you read these articles, you kind of break it up and you say, okay, it appears that because you're related or associated with Mario Cuomo, that some of your best people got the COVID, but the people that were in senior citizen homes did not get this COVID vaccine when they could have gotten it, and they could have saved a lot of lives. In other words, they're saying that Mario Cuomo murdered a lot of people. That needs to be investigated, and people. It's not just getting him out of office. His whole administration needs to be investigated. All of them. They can start anything they want. But the point is that the we're listening to, the we're hearing is that the governor did something wrong and cost people their lives. Hmm. Don't you think it needs to be investigated? I do. I tell you, this whole COVID thing is so mind blowing. Some people really like it, and some people believe it, and a lot of people don't. But it has created some conflict within the home. It's created conflict with parents, husband and wife, mother and child, just so much conflict. So, how do you turn that toxic conflict into something good? Sociologists, you, me, we really got to talk about it. This is why this show is called Let's Talk About It. How to turn this toxic conflict into a good conflict. Now, you know, um, anytime you divide humans into two uh, oppositional camps, it really brings out our worst conflict instinct. Yes, I have a master's in conflict negotiation and management, no doubt about it. Something that is COVID related brings that conflict. And I wish my brother, who was a classmate, would come on. I've sent him a link. Um, it affects everybody. This conflict created by COVID affects the children. Innocence, innocent children. They're, we're losing out. This is another story that is really, let me shift it. This is another story that is really bad, but it's because of COVID. Children are staying home, watching anything. They're on the internet, going and opening up pornographic shows. Yes, pornographic shows. Kids, oh my God, would you believe it? To protect our children from pornographers, I mean, these people are pornos. Yes, creeps, stupid people. Go ahead. I said it. destroying the minds of our children because of this COVID and because of the fact that children are staying home um, and unprotected. There's something that I found in the epic times. Unless we take some sort of action, we take some sort of action. You, me, parents, teachers, real teachers, good teachers, not everybody that is crying wolf now that the pandemic is around. We will be paying for this grim circumstance for decades, if not generations. You heard it. Our children are in serious trouble because pornographers are out there abusing them. Now, I always ask the question, all these children that are out of school, I've seen them in urban cities. You've seen them. Young girls, 13, 14, 15 years old. In my days, we used to call the users and abusers pimps. There are pimps out there making use of young girls, harming them, destroying them, because they don't have any place to go. Because pornography and the politicians uh, they're pornographers too. But anyway, listen to these numbers. It really is a damaging issue. 93% of young men under the age of 18 have seen porn. 93%. You can't get that high numbers unless you're staying home and your parents are going to work and you're there by yourself. Ooh, wow, look at that. 93% they've seen porn. Now, here's another one. 62% of young women of the same age have seen porns. 51%. Oh man, this is heartbreaking. If you don't break your heart, then you ain't got none. 51% of 11 to 13-year-olds have at some point seen pornography. 11 to 13-year-old. I mean, they make it so easily available, so you can just open up your laptop and there it is. Oops, there it is. Crazy. Oh, here's another one. 12% of parents. Oh, I know. Anyway, we're in a crisis all around. And for somebody, because I'm giving you these news because I don't believe the black people are getting it. They get news from politicians and the media that really almost have nothing to do with what is happening with black people. And I've told you, I've said it before. This is my show. It's about black people. I'm talking to black people. Anybody can come in and say something, but don't get annoyed. Don't get angry. It is just something black people need to know. How about this one? What is about this pandemic? This pandemic has created a tremendous anxiety. Epic times of saying it. Everybody else is talking about it. All of a sudden, they're starting to think about, oh my God, this anxiety. Uh, you know, the rules keep changing about whether pandemic exists or not, whether you should wear the mask or not, or whether you should get the shot, 2 or 3 of them or 4 of them, and then you don't wear the mask, and the person is next to you maybe not haven't gotten a shot, and there's no way for you to, they're slowly coming into apartheid. Yes, separate but unequal. It's coming close. They're coming close. Every time they open their mouth, they're saying something that will create apartheid. You black people, we know about apartheid. White people do too. Everybody else in the world knows about it, but we know about it. We're the one that lived apartheid. It's not the apartheid maker that suffers. It's the apartheid suppressed that suffers. We did it. So, and I can see the manipulators, the perpetrators of this entire pandemic are now starting to look at anxiety as a major problem. The rules keep changing. They're getting conflicting information, and that makes 2 things happen. Unknown creates more anxiety and it creates distrust. Gregory, this guy, his name is Jones, kind of a different name, but it ain't Jones, but it's Jones that works for Epic Times, JANTS. We all know those things that you don't know about creates anxiety. And a lot of people don't know anything about what's going on in terms of this pandemic, in terms of the viruses. Boy, I'm getting so many people that are saying this, we need to know more. Um, China, China, China. Everywhere you go, China, China, China. That's all I keep hearing, China. So here's another thing that I'd like to let you know. There are alarming trends towards socialism developing under this Biden administration. Biden is in there everywhere, making things very difficult. Some of it is pushing God to the background. They don't want to talk about God anymore. Shut down the schools so we don't even talk about God. They're defunding the police. They want to take the money away from my man that took a job so that he can protect the community. Now you want to defund and take his money away. That's not a good thing either. That's part of socialism. Uh, Open borders. Everybody, come on in. Anywhere you are, just come on in as you feel free to come in. Now, co-opting the education system to brainwash our youth. Our youth are being brainwashed, whether we like it or not. It is going on. Thank you very much, everybody who's sending this text. Uh, Lying and cheating to hide the real purpose of government programs. Lying and cheating. Soon as Biden got in there, boy, this thing really blew up. Lying and cheating to hide the real purposes of government programs. Now, federal control of the election process. We all went through it 2020. It happened right here in Maryland. Corporate and media support of Black Lives Matter. We're going to keep on talking about Black Lives Matter because a lot of us, it sounds so good. Black Lives Matters. Sounds really good, because it's about us. And if people are saying, hey, your life matters, we know it matters. What makes you think we don't know that it matters? We know it matters, but apparently some people don't because that's how come they continue to shooting and killing us everywhere. The federal control of the election process, I said that. Black Lives Matter. Here's another one. Taxing corporations and business until they fall. Black people just are not in tune with the role that corporations are playing in our community and in our schools and in our jobs. Corporations, big money corporations, are playing such big roles. They donate money to candidates who are in tune with what they want to do, and the next thing you know, the candidates, the politicians do what the corporations are doing and not what the people that voted for them want them to do. The federal control of guns. Hey, bro, Second Amendment. We're all entitled to it. So I don't know. Some people don't want to have their own. And I'm getting ready to finish up with some of the news that people should know about. Our people, black people. But we don't keep up with these things. We don't seem to tune into it because we're focused and locked in on certain media brainwashing every day. And we don't look outside of the box. This news that I'm giving you are outside of the box. This is I like the thing about some of the opinions that some people have. Pushing back against the CCP. Do you know what CCP is? Aha! Chinese Communist Party. CCP. Chinese Communist Party. Everywhere we look, China this, China that, China the other. My God, what's going on? How come Chinese is holding out into our lives, into American life? We never had this, but now all of a sudden,
Mhm.
China, China
Yes.
this, China the other. So now, um, trying to overtake the United States in education, in employment, buying up everything that is here, not just the United States, but in Africa as well. But we'll get to that. Uh, Here's something that might make you a little happy. There is a Supreme Court rebuffs Biden administration on warrantless searches for handguns. You know, police officers just suspecting that you have a handgun in the house, they break your door. You don't have to be home. You don't have, you could be at work. They tear down your door and boom, searches for handguns. Well, the Supreme Court says that's unconstitutional. You can't just break into people's private property and just tear into their house searching for handguns. And so the Supreme Court knocked that down. And of course, some people don't like the idea that a black man is on the Supreme Court, but it's him. That's right. That brother went ahead and made that decision that turned the whole thing over and said, no, it's unconstitutional. You know who that is? Clarence Thomas. Yeah, he's a Republican. That's right. Appointed by a Republican president. So I'm almost finished. Give me a little minute. The rule against warrantless searches for handgun turned down. Okay, I said that already. Oh, okay, here it is. Ah, hmm. The whole issue about defending the Constitution really kind of mind boggles me. You really need to look more into it. The Constitution needs to be defended because there's some lawyers out there that know how to twist words and make it look like it's not what it's supposed to be, but it is. But anyway, that's one of the things. It's kind of like decentralizing the Constitution, or decentralizing the federal government, but mostly the Supreme Court. You already heard it. They want to be able to um, expand the Supreme Court so they can have uh, control. But anyway, the last one that I have, 2.4 million college students faces vaccine mandate. You know, this one here makes me to want to really get a little puke, puke, puke. There's some professors in the universities, especially black colleges, who are agreeing. Could you believe it? That if you want to come back to black universities, you got to get vaccine. Now check this out. Check this out, because there's a twist there. Okay. First of all, what is his name? Hogan gives up all this money. The administrators want some of that money. So how do you get that money into their pocket? You restrict the students from coming to the school. Well, how do you do that? You say vaccine, COVID, and you use that again the same way that they've been using it on our children and everybody else in the workplaces. Now they're going to use that. School administrators, black school administrators. You don't hear too much about it happening in the other side, but you do hear it. The only thing that you're hearing now that is coming up, and it's on that fast train, is what is called, what is it called again? Oh my goodness. Oh, you love this. Critical race theory. Oh, there it is. There it is. 7 states have now said they don't want anybody in the classroom where there are multiple cultural people in there to know about what happened to black people, black history. They want to bury black history. They don't want that to be taught. 7 states, Tennessee, Utah, Idaho, these places have just said, even some Floridians don't want to know about what happened to black people. There's a lot of stuff that happened to black people. The critical race theory is a topic we're going to cover by itself on Let's Talk About It. Don't forget, subscribe, click, subscribe, click. We need 10,000 people, so please subscribe and click. Zlink, I see you on the air. There's been an awful lot that I've covered. Just giving out some news. Later on, giving us some more time. It's 8:30. We're going to Africa. We're going to Africa. Some of you everybody call themselves African Americans. They ain't never been to Africa. You ain't even been to Hoboken. Now it's time for us to go to Africa. What's going on? 54 countries. Africa is not one country. So like the United States is not one country. Well, there's a lot of states, but Africa is not one country. Not one
right.
country. Africa has 54 countries, and there's some bigger ones trying to get themselves on a map. And of course, naturally, everybody's trying to. There's a lot of stuff. So, Zelinka, jump in. We've got something that already been covered. We said we're going to talk about reparation. We've already talked about the school funding, schools in Baltimore. Whew, boy, and it's not looking good. It's not looking good. Our kids are still out there, but in some places in Maryland, they are. Oh, I can't read it. I don't know what it says. I need one of
David
you.
Murray,
Uh, oh, hello,
David
David.
Murray.
Okay. Is it?
David is multitasking this morning. So he's
Oh, okay.
listening, but he won't be on. Right.
Not so problem. Not so problem. We got other things to
Mhm.
do, and we miss him.
I
And
would like to make a correction, if I may.
correction.
Yes,
Okay,
I'm
good.
just going back to our discussion about the Baltimore City Board of Education. And we talked about education, and yes, education and Baltimore City's Board of Education is a very hot topic right now. One correction that we want to make is when we had the Voice of the Citizens Caravan Movement March on the 26th of April. It was to visit 6 pillars of government here in Baltimore City. But that march was an invitation from the citizens from various communities. All 14 sectors, there was a representative citizen from each district. And we invited the leadership of each one of those institutions, those governmental institutions, to come out and have a seat. It was all about having a day because things were locked down due to COVID for officials to to listen to their constituents. So they didn't want to come out, and some of the citizens were vocal because they didn't want to come out. So the um, president of the teachers union actually called one of the citizens, and they sent 3 representatives out. So one correction is there were several parents that voiced their discontent with the Board of Education, with not having access to Board of Education meetings, not being able to testify due to COVID. There's no in-person meetings. Their lack of having the knowledge of when meetings would take place. Some parents even expressed that they got rid of the PTA, and we kind of put that out there during that conference. Come to find out that this is the correction. No, there's not a parent teachers association. What they did is they revamped it to include children. So it's now referred to as the PCTA. Once again, the PTA has been revamped and is now referred to the PCTA. Well, when someone approached me about that information and I started making that correction, you know, I didn't personally put it out there, but parents was putting it out there during the march. So what does that lead us to believe? The Baltimore City Board of Education must, and I'm going to repeat that, must do a better job with the utilization of funding to include public service announcements. They do a very, very poor job when it comes to notifying the public of major changes that take place within the school board system. So, that being said, you still have hundreds of parents that really believe that there is no PTA in existence anymore in Baltimore City because they have not been informed. They need to be utilized. They got on the air yesterday doing a so-called memorial in remembrance to over a dozen students that lives has been taken due to violent criminals committing murder. And they
Mhm.
chimed in the names. And you heard from Nick Mosby, the city council president. You heard from the CEO of the Board of Education. But something that I did not hear, I did not hear policy. I did not hear a change in direction when it comes to whether or not the schools should actually have police officers canvassing their school perimeter. I did not hear um, a, any type of policy from the city council president of possibly bringing the city council members together and writing legislation that makes sense when it comes to the prosecution, conviction, and sentencing of violent criminals here in Baltimore City. I did not hear what they plan to do with John Hopkins as they have partnered now to bring forth some type of trauma counseling. Okay. So these are still open ended questions, but I just wanted to note and put out there in the public atmosphere that the PTA has now been transformed to include children. So it is now referred to as the PCTA,
PTCA. PCTA. That is uh, Peter,
Parent
Charlie.
Children Teachers Association.
Yeah, Peter, Charlie, for those who phonetically, that's Peter, Charlie, Tom, and Apple.
Thank you.
PCTA. Well, you know, Zulinka, there used to be media, newspapers that put the schedules of PTA meetings. If the school
Right.
or the city does not have the kind of media to get to parents, you know, sometimes it's all internally done. When I was PTA president, 2 terms, we had a newspaper that sent schedules um, to other people. Can you read that, Zelinka? You got good eyes.
Yes, we have someone on. We have someone on by the name of Jake. Jamaica, Black History. Well, he says Black History, my ass. The Negro had 1.5 million white slaves. They called slaves who they killed off during 7 generations. What happens to the 344,000 slaves who landed here, were fed after 1 generation, crying about our compassion? Okay.
Wow. We'll
So
get back
that's a
on.
comment. We'll get
Yeah,
to that because
we'll get to
we
that.
are going to be discussing reparations, right?
We will be as much as we
Okay.
can, given the time notice. Um,
Right.
the public inputs on the Board of Education meetings. If you know, I think sometimes they can do one thing that might be helpful. In my experience, if you don't make enough noise, ain't nobody gonna hear you. And so, a lot of things would
Oh, oh,
that you can continue that we can
sorry.
continue talking about uh, to get people to be involved in their children's schools. A lot of things that I did, I made a lot of noise. I made a
Mm-hmm.
lot of noise. If I can see about 50,000, 100,000 parents come out against this lack of Board of Education public inputs and people having access to it, 50,000, 20,000. If parents really give a damn about anything, they should come out and say so. Sorry for the language. It's English.
We're
Um,
working on it. We're working on it.
no, you know,
We are
it's not
working
just
on
you.
that.
No, it's not, you know, I think what when I was PTA president, no, we don't accept no
That's
because
right. It's needed.
it involves the children. So if they're
Yeah,
going to
it's
try to
needed.
change it after today, you go from PTA, Parents Teachers Association, to Parents Children Teachers Association. The next thing you know, you'll be going to Parents Mamas Association, Parents Papas Association. So there's an awful lot that you can go to that you know continue to dissolve the importance of parents' involvement in their children's education. So what I'm hearing from you is just is bad news. Um, it's a crisis. It's a crisis, folks. And we'll like to go ahead and um, I would like to go ahead and make sure to respond to some of the requests that is being made. I mean, I get some private calls, but you can text me. Giovanni, my producer, will definitely let you know about all that. But let's go ahead to reparation because we got, the PTA meeting again. Our parents have got it's a crisis. We're in a crisis. Uh,
Right,
virus, a virus keeps the kids not at home, keeps the kids at home. And when that happens, you got a crisis.
right.
Anyway, a lot of the reports that I've given is so critical. But let's go to reparation and because the issue is with reparation is all right. How do
Well,
you divide up the money? Go ahead on,
right.
Zulika.
Let's first of all say that the House has passed yay. I think for to move forward with reparations.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about that, um,
The-
Chief O, and who did not participate. That was interesting to me. Who did not sign here in Baltimore?
Why is he fool me? I called him. Why is he fool me? No, he doesn't think black folks need to have any money. No, 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 no. Why is he fool me? Did
Right.
not sign up for any kind of reparation. I mean, he may not be alone because the
Hmm.
so-called finance individuals maybe don't want to share that money with anybody else. So I can understand the brother saying no. He don't want to give no black folks any more money
Well,
than
just take a look at his district, District 7. Even when you had, and I hate to say it, Elijah Cummings that represented that district for 30 years. Where
yeah,
did the money go? All the money that he lobbied to bring
millions
into
and millions
Baltimore
and
City
millions of
in that
dollars.
particular district, in that
Yeah,
particular
millions of
district.
dollars.
And you
Yeah,
look at that district, and that
yeah,
district is totally in decayed, totally
yeah,
several micro areas that
yeah,
is full of violence, full of crime.
yeah.
Okay, so I think they have enriched themselves. And a lot of the public and taxpayers feel that they have enriched themselves. So no, they don't care about um, supporting reparations for our people, for African American people, because then guess what? Now they have their own money to rebuild those communities on their own. See,
Yeah,
that's the thing. You take a
yeah,
look at who's supporting reparations, and you put you draw the dots, you draw the lines, you connect the dots,
yeah.
and it's very clear, very simplistic that they don't care, because as long as they have poverty, as long as they have um areas and in these cities
Yeah.
that there are crime issues, there are poverty issues, there's no home ownership opportunities, no job opportunities. They can continue to milk the cow. And it's
I
called
think
the poor. It's
I
called
think
the
with
poor.
this reparation issue is going to be almost a continuous program because there's so many other people that are involved. One of it is called the National Coalition of Blacks for Reparation in America. The National Coalition of Blacks for Reparation in America. And they've got
So
an
they
awful lot to
they
say.
want to control. They want to control. And who are they? How many individuals or how many other um, organizations or associations or affiliations are part of that coalition? These are what black questions black people need to ask.
Well,
Why
you're correct.
Congress.
You're correct. But there are some compelling arguments for true reparation for American slave nation and the descendants of American slaves. There are some compelling arguments. One of them is Professor Hickenbaum. His father was a big man in Baltimore. Professor Hickenbaum is a professor at the University of Baltimore. Well, I've been trying to reach his office for him to come and talk about his own writing about those compelling arguments. And I'll continue to call him and find out from his office when he'll be able to come to this podcast. We're not WBLL or BLLB, whatever it is that they have here in Baltimore, but we're small, yet we still need to know, and he has a right to talk to us. I don't, so, but Hickenbaum, he ran for Congress, a Democratic candidate for Congress, Professor Hickenbaum, and didn't do very well. And I can't understand why the son of a very big man in Baltimore could not do well. And they pushed him aside like he was some kind of a little kid. But that HR 40 is an examination for the path to so-called justice in America. Because Shirley Weber, a California Secretary of State, she also had something to say about the reparation, but she calls it justice in America. Mm. And then, of course, the HR
Well,
40.
if it's going to be about justice, then that money has to go directly to the families of slave,
Yeah,
those 4 million slaves.
yeah.
That money needs to go directly to those families because that's their money.
I
That's
met
their
a
money.
I met a professor who said that if the identity can be linked and done very well, that one way instead of giving cash or a mule, because it's all part of that 40 acres and a mule, if it can be done differently, he thinks that if the 40 million black, I mean, is it 40 million? No,
It's
14
four
million black,
million.
yeah, that's for them, but they're not here anymore. But
Absolutely not.
if we want to compensate the offspring and the
Right.
descendants of those 4 million, that it can be done in such a way that their descendants don't have to pay taxes. That's one way that reparation can be done. Don't pay any taxes. I mean,
They just insist. They just insist. You know what? I don't mean any harm, but being in the financial industry 40 years, let me ask that same individual this question. If you working on your job, you have a position, and that employer decides one day that because the company has a problem, they're going to cut your salary. They're going to cut your pay. Now, DOJ, which we have an agency that oversees labor issues. Now, if DOJ says and you file a complaint and you say, I am owed 3 years worth of this back pay. And Chrysler, GMC went through that when the car and auto industry manufacturer was in trouble, and their employees decided that they would sign on that once they got out of a crisis mode, they would then get their back pay. They would be recompensated. So that's just like saying, hold up, wait a minute. No, this is money that is owed. That is owed. Black people need to understand. Don't let them twist the issue here. The issue is this is money that our forefathers and mothers worked
but
for in the
remember
fields,
now,
in the
remember,
homes
yeah,
of
but
slave
remember,
owners.
Jalika, remember, there was never a promise of money. It was
The bottom line,
it
look,
was
I don't care about that.
acres of
I don't
land
care about that. We
and a
have the
mule.
power right now. I don't care about that. Of course, they're going to propose different issues, but that is a monetary liability on those families that own slaves. That kidnapped people, human beings,
We
in
got
some
that.
cases. And
Yeah.
excuse me, please don't cut me off. Let me finish this last statement.
Hmm.
They are owed money. Now, you need to negotiate with those people that are the relatives of those slave owners. They the ones should be sitting at the negotiation table. It's not up to these coalitions and organizations or even Congress to make a decision for those family members of how they want to be compensated. Okay? We're in America. Okay? We're in America. And so, guess what? They should be coming to the table. People that actually are family members of the ancestors of slaves should be at that table. First, identify the ancestors. There is technology now that can easily be done and accomplished, and bring them to the table, and then draw up an agreement on how they want, or we, because I already know I'm part of that system, how we
Uh-huh.
want to be compensated. Okay,
Uh-huh.
it should not be on these various committees. They didn't
Well,
do this with the Jewish population. They brought people from the Jewish population, from the Holocaust, survivors, and they were at the table. I don't see why African Americans should be treated any differently. Period.
mhm. Well, okay. It's a point well taken. Wasn't going to cut you off. Hello. Oh, is that you? That's same you. No, I wasn't trying to cut you off. I was just agreeing with you that there's some things the descendants should be on the table, but some things have to be mobilized. Somebody got to mobilize them. Somebody got to bring them together. If that's not going to happen, how would they know about it? And of course, how do they determine how much money is an acre? 40 acres in a mule. So it comes. It seems like Brother Murphy had a point to make. And what's he saying there?
David Murray says, "Do you think it will benefit United States, to empower Black people from our status in America?"
Well, I'm not sure how you mean by from our
And
status
I
in
think what
America.
David is, I think the question that David is asking is, we're talking about how to distribute, and in what form a distribution should those reparations be paid to Black people here in the United States of America. It is empowering if we were able to take that money and create Black owned banks, that the actual um, um, people that actually are ancestors of slaves have ownership. We then have those in communities where then people can actually have that money available to start up businesses, to further their nonprofit endeavors, to make sure that their children can be educated and they have an option, whether it's charter schools or private schools. They now have the financial resources to do so. That's a
Okay, let me
form
get
of
that straight. Let me get
empowerment.
that straight.
Excuse me. That's a
Let me
form of
get that straight.
empowerment.
What you're suggesting is that Congress open up a bank for Black people and let Black people that were descendants of those 4 million slaves go in and put all their money in that bank, and then you and the bank do the banking stuff and help them to open up businesses and so forth. Is that what you mean?
That and however they want to use their money, because it should be put in a financial institution. The money should be put there. And last week I suggested to you, Prudential has a great, they're great, have a great trustee account. Okay. But you got to make sure that Congress, it's locked out to Congress, it's locked out to the banks, it's locked out. Only the money is available to those individuals that are true ancestors of slaves.
Hmm.
So
Well,
there's ways to do this.
we got about 6 minutes, and we're going to be going forward and talk more about this. Reparation is going to be like almost a weekly analysis from Black perspective on what we need to do, how we're going to do it, because it is a big issue in Congress and it's big issue in talk. I've called Sheila Jackson's office, and they promised to call back. So we'll just have to go forward and wait until they do call back. But with the time remaining, you've got a lot of points that you've made, and but I want to make one thing about Brandon Scott. I don't quite understand who is navigating Brandon Scott's mind. There is something that he keep, it's something that he keeps saying and keep doing that is a little bit annoying, yet misunderstanding from my um, small cell of brains. Well, I don't really have that, but I just don't understand something that he is doing when everybody else in the state have uh, everybody else in the state have already said that they're the COVID is you can take your mask off, and Brandon Scott says, "I want my black people in Baltimore City to keep their mask on and get your shots. Go and get your shots, or you don't get no bread, no money, no nothing." And yet
Well,
at the
let me
same
say
time, the
something.
state, one second, yet at the same time, the state is willing to compensate black people for getting the shot. So, exactly who is manipulating Brandon Scott's mind? Go ahead.
I don't. I think that people don't give Brandon Scott enough credit. Now I'm going. Now I have been one to speak out when I see or hear Brandon Scott not doing his job as mayor, and not looking at all the Baltimoreans as being him being responsible for what that he makes is not just about it's not just about his little circles and his family members and his rap brothers. Okay, I'm the first one to speak out on that. But let me just say, I really believe
You're
Brainwash
fading
is smart.
away.
He's smart. He's a thinker, and he's
You're,
he's very strategic, and he's been trained by some deep manipulators and and strategists. Think about who has mentored him over the years. So he's in no means, he definitely has the motive. But I will say one thing. If you go outside of Baltimore and just travel throughout Baltimore and you can see what's being done in Baltimore. Baltimore, little by little, they're building, they're taking little areas in the city and then small investors are coming in. They are renovating some of the properties. Two properties that's owned by the city is being expanded upon and renovated. So there's some things happening behind the scenes. And the longer you keep people inside, you get to kind of do what you want to do, okay, without being
well,
questioned.
I'm
But the
referring to the
second,
vaccine. I'm referring to the
yeah, but the
vaccine, and
second thing I think he is right on this point that some people, it is safe to keep your mask. People need to understand that COVID-19 has not gone anywhere. It's an airborne virus. And for those of us in the city, and I'm going to say of us because I have not been vaccinated yet, my son nor my husband have been vaccinated yet. So, of course, we're going to wear our masks because we know that's going to give us some protection. And
okay,
and some people have been advised by their doctors, and I can't hear you.
all
Chief.
right. We're going to keep an eye on all that on Brandon Scott and his authoritarian leadership or dictatorial leadership. You don't take the vaccine, you don't eat tonight. You don't take the vaccine, you're not going to get a job. You don't take the vaccine,
Well,
that's
I don't
called
say that's not
authoritarian.
what you're
But
doing.
we got 2 minutes, and I guess I will never be able to get to the uh, 9 people that were killed in California shooting.
Oh
There's
Lord.
a new act that is called the Endless Frontier Act, sponsored by Chuck Schumer. Um, China, China, China. Again, China. Everything we buy is made in China. Still, the virus, and it seems like Biden is now all of a sudden trying to find out what happened in China and how did the virus occur. So he's prioritizing using, Biden is again prioritizing using race classification to grant businesses money. And the SBA is being sued for discrimination. Um, they have black people abroad, and those black people are stuck abroad with their American passports, and those American passports are quite frankly, you know, uh, they're not useful for them to return back to America. But recently, the DOJ and some other federal agencies are now saying you can use your passport, even though it's been expired, to come back to the United States. Uh, The critical race theory is something that we're going to focus on and talk about. 7 states. This is the 20th anniversary. I'm going to rush it through. Give me one more minute. 20th anniversary of the attack on New York Twin Towers, the 9/11. Today, the anniversary. Um, but of course, that's something that is so bad. We're going to talk about traffic. We're going to talk about abortion. Um, More on the January 6th commission. You remember Karen, the white lady that accused a black man of doing something to her in New York? Karen, that's what her name is. Well, I know a lot of people say, all right, Karen, now she's suing for discrimination because she wants some money. You come up with something against a black man, and then you get caught, and then you turn around and sue her boss for discrimination. How do you like that? And I would think that black man should be suing her. But right now, what's her name? Amy Cooper? Yeah, that's her name. Um, the conflict in Israel, Hamas and Israel. They're fighting, they're killing. You know, uh, Black people in America, we just simply not tuned into all these things that are taking place. That's why I keep focusing on you. Now, there's a country called Mali. They had a coup. That's a few days ago. A coup d'etat, where the military takes over the government. The president, vice president, the ministers, all of them, whoop, we quit, take the country. And that just happened a couple of days ago in Mali. Now, remember that there's a country also that is being formed called Biafra. That country is trying its best to get its sovereignty on the map. Please support Biafra. I am 159% in support of Biafra, and so should be you, because all black people that are here in this country, you come from someplace in Africa, most likely from the Biafran region. So uh, they're really trying so hard. Look it up, Biafra, and see what's going on over there. Again, the wearing of the mask is a growing issue. We have to worry about the merits of that. South Africa, remember the president of South Africa? His name was Jacob Zuma. Yeah, he pleaded not guilty to corruption. We'll see about that. Now, there's another country, the Republic of Congo. You guys remember Congo? Yeah, Congo. There was an eruption of volcano in Congo. We hope that people are keeping themselves safe. Um, one of the biggest things, the super poor in Congo. They're very class structured. There's the super duper duper rich overnight guys, and then there's the super duper duper poor. And they themselves, they want to be. Now there's another country called Zambia. Is now under the Chinese influence. China is just grabbing parts of Africa little at a time. Oh my God, it's just little at a time, just taking and taking. So Zambia is part of Africa that is losing an awful lot to China. Malawi is on fire. Malawi is another country where the vaccine corporations are flooding the continent, especially Malawi. They're fighting about who's going to take the vaccine. Come here, Malawians. And so Pfizer, J&J, all of them are fighting. They got all their vaccines in that country, and they see that the country doesn't have a good structured government to stop them, and bingo, they jump right in and they started scaring the hell out of everybody and start giving them all kinds of stuff. And this is going on today. Um, Somehow or another, racism seems to come back. Um, they remember we were talking about pornography. Well, in Nigeria, school administrators are using girls' sex to give them grades. We really need to see what's going on. So this racism is increasing in South Africa. This is Chuck, Chief Chuck. I am almost done. Zelinka, thank you so much. And everybody else that has been texting and sending notes, I appreciate everybody. Don't forget, do one thing for me. We're trying to reach 10,000 subscribers. So subscribe, ring the bell. Subscribe, ding dong ding, and ring the bell. I don't care if you're from Mali, Zimbabwe. I don't care if you're from Hoboken. It don't matter. I just need you to tune in to this program, this podcast, and bring the issue to the table and let's talk about it. That's why we call it, because there's a lot of people that don't want to talk about a lot of issues. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about it. Subscribe, bing, bing. Subscribe, bing, bing. God bless you. This is Chief. Chief O. God bless you. Thank you very much for listening. Arrivederci. Done.